Hello, my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel. We're going to take a quick skim around my plot and see how well we've survived the beast from the east. It's been quite a long time since the last update, but that's all down to the weather really, and also just the fact that it's been windy, but it's been lovely, really lovely weather like this, sunny but cold and windy, so we've been out and about a lot. Anyway, I'll give you a quick look round. So the outside beds have obviously taken a bit of a hit, but the perpetual spinach in here was looking okay and the carrots are all still alive, so I'm pretty happy with that. This bed had spinach in it and it did not survive, as you can see, but as you'll see later on, I'm not too worried about that, and the stuff under cover there is fine. The lamb's lettuce in that bed survived okay, and the kale's still thriving, so nothing to worry about really there. The first of the salad beds has done pretty well. Most of this is overwintered in this bed, and it'll soon be replaced, but it's serving its purpose. It's just providing just enough to keep us going. And this is another newly planted bed, and I should think it's about 2 weeks away from harvest, so that's not too bad. And there's a few little straggly lettuces at the back there, which will probably be coming out tomorrow. But again, they've done their job. They have fed us since September, so not too bad. This bed's nearly ready for clearance. Just a few carrots at the end there. So this spinach bed is done really nicely. It's in perfect condition, no hassles with the weather there. And these lettuces are doing really well as well. They're overwintered, but they're looking pretty healthy, and a bit of spinach at the back. This salad bed was planted just before the big freeze, and so it's basically just been in a holding pattern, but there's been no problems at all with it. Everything's looking really healthy, so pretty happy with that. And carrots in here and claytonia, both of these beds are doing fine. So a quick peek in the greenhouse. The early brassicas are doing fine. These are doing okay up here. Those are fine there. Those at the bottom are great. These lettuces will be going out soon, probably tomorrow, as will those. And maybe some of these as well. These are Salanovas. Those are all year round, are they? Something like that. Marvel of all seasons, I think, actually. And those are Grenoble Reds. The early peas starting to all come through now, so I'm quite pleased with those. I'll show you where they're going in a minute. And some broad beans there that will be going on Debbie's plot. The onions are all doing pretty well. These are all multi-sown onions, so they seem to have done really nicely despite the freeze. And yeah, I think there's exactly what we need there. We've chosen to multi-sow probably 2/3 of our onions this year, mostly because we only eat relatively small numbers of onions per day, and so small multi-sown onions are better than great big giant ones. So that's what we've decided to try, but we are still growing some from sets as well, which we can leave. Leeks are doing reasonably well as well. We've multi-sown our leeks as well this year, although we'll be single sowing some leeks as well. In fact, we've got some single sown ones at home on the windowsill, and some more early brassicas. Those are Calabrese there, so not too bad. Let's take a look at these big beds. These are the spring onion beds. These were direct sown, and I'm really pleased with them actually. They've grown on really nicely, and those were sown in plugs. And I actually prefer to sow like this in rows, just because you can just pick them at the perfect size, whereas when you pick these, it's easier just to take out the whole clump. And often there's lots of small ones and a few big ones, and so it's, you know, they're all uneven. Whereas harvesting from the rows, you can just get just the ones that have grown to maturity. But we'll see as they mature whether that's a good policy. It certainly worked well last year. This is a salad bed we sowed in January. And we just started harvesting this one actually, so it's a bit late because of the weather, but we took a nice harvest off this yesterday, and so it's looking pretty good. It'll be ready again for harvesting next week. And that bed's carrots and French breakfast radish, and it's all coming up really nicely. Quite pleased with that, although the growth rate's not that fast at this time of year, of course, but pretty good germination there. Let's get a bit closer so you can see the carrots. Quite pleased with that for a January sowing. So let's take a good look at this bed. So this was planted again just right before the big freeze. And this is winter germ, I think, and that's interplanted again with more spring onions. And then we've got our early chard. Ideally I would have had some chard that overwintered, but with the weather, you know, the chard that's been outside has not done that well. But this is growing on quite nicely. This will grow to mature chard leaves. I've got another batch that'll be baby chard as well, but that's at home at the moment. But it won't be long now before I'm picking some chard leaves, so quite pleased about that. And this is this year's planting of Pak Choy, and this is ready really now for harvesting a few leaves, but we've got some that's a bit more mature than this, so that's what we'll be focusing on for at least this week anyway. And I've got some more spinach beds, so you can see I'm not too worried about losing a little bit of outdoor spinach because we've just got a lovely harvest of spinach here. This is red kitten, and then we've got some really nice red frills mustard there, and some giant red mustard, and more spinach there, so that's all looking fantastic. We've got some more carrots here. This was planted a little bit later than the other carrot bed, so it's not quite as far on, but again we've got really nice germination there, and it's actually a little bit confusing, this bed, because at first I didn't think I was getting any carrots coming up, and so I replanted it with other things like guardsman, for example. So this is, in theory, is guardsman spring onions, but what's actually come up are the carrots that I didn't think I was going to get, so everything's a little bit confused. So in this bed, for example, I originally planted carrots again, and they didn't come up, so I planted French breakfast radish, and now I've got French breakfast radish and carrots. So I'm going to have to get rid of the one or the other, not decided which one yet. And I've got the same problem over there as well, and some more really nice spinach. So this is one of my other overwintered beds, and these overwintered beds are just keeping us going at the moment until the new stuff comes through, so it's I'm pretty pleased with that. So there's some nice leaf beet here, and some spinach at the back, and some bull's blood beetroot there that's just been grown for the leaves. And here's this mature Pak Choy that I mentioned, and as you can see, that's really nice now, nice size for salads, so that's pretty good. Take a quick look in here. I've got some more lettuces that were planted maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago now, and they're coming on really nicely. I'm really pleased with those. I haven't lost any of them in the chill, and they'll be ready for harvest probably next week or the week after, depending on the weather. So our successions have done pretty well. We're not, I wouldn't say in abundance at the moment, but we soon will be. Definitely by the end of March we'll have an abundant supply of quite a few things. There's a few of the overwintered lettuce there, and I got some beetroot in here that I was just experimenting with, and these are golden beetroot, and the leaves are fantastic off these, and I've actually grown them for the leaves, but it's just been too cold for them, so they've not thrived. So I'm not sure whether I'll leave those in. I'm tempted to just put my baby leaf chard in this bed that I've got at home, but we'll see. And last bed, I think, is another salad bed. I don't really like doing this, mixing old planting with new planting. It makes it difficult to manage the maturing of the bed, but I think those lettuces will be coming out tomorrow. They're not doing very well. I'll get some new stuff in, and then this will all be newly planted. I have lost one lettuce there, and looks like I'm losing another one there, but the rest seem to be doing pretty well. And then that's another one of the overwintered salad beds, and that will last until all these other beds come on stream in a week or 2 weeks' time. So timing has been pretty good. My early strawbs are in here, and I've just opened this up and had a look, and they're coming on quite nicely. And so I think that is pretty much everything on my plot. And I'm just working on preparing this space for the polytunnel. I don't know whether you can see, but there's 4 spikes that mark the area of the polytunnel. But basically it's the whole area there that's soil is going to be polytunnel, apart from a little path that's down the back near the fence. And that's going to be a really handy little storage area. And since the last visit to the plot, we've finished off the path and put the edging boards in. And I don't know whether actually, I finished all of this wood chip as well. We managed to get a wood chip delivery about a week ago, and so I got all this wood chip down, so that's really good. So the whole site's had a good top up with wood chip, and this used to be a grass path, and I've wood chipped it. I just can't be bothered with mowing grass anymore. It just makes everything so easy, but it also means this is a really good storage area now for frames, polytunnel frames or netted frames that I don't need during certain parts of the year. I can just pop them on this path, so it's going to be really useful. So I'll just do a quick visit to Debbie and Jenny's plot, and so I'll be back in a minute. So we've just arrived at Debbie's plot, and everything is looking reasonable. We have lost the broad beans that were in that bed, and some of the claytonia in that bed is looking a bit worse for wear now. It needs trimming back and then allowing to regrow. But the herbs are fine, and the lamb's lettuce is fine. The garlic looks okay. Most of the strawberries have lived. We have had a little bit of a problem with pigeons and the broccoli, so we've had to put this netting on, and it may be a bird scarer, I'm not sure, but the pigeons have been munching away at this, unfortunately. And other than that, I'm trying to think whether anything has really changed on Debbie's plot. I don't think it has. We've been, as I say, been busy out and about, walking and cycling and things. So we've not been doing much allotment work, but this broccoli's okay. It's funny actually that the broccoli that's been netted is the stuff that's been attacked by the pigeons, and the stuff that's not been netted is fine, which is a bit hard to understand really. Maybe the pigeons know that if you're trying to protect it, it's worth eating. The broad beans here seem to be okay, and the kale there is springing back to life. So I think I can call it a day on Debbie's plot. There's not much else to show you. So I'll just go for a walk around to Jenny's plot. Okay, so here we are in Jenny's plot. And there's not been very many changes. It looks as if the garlic is fine. The onions are fine. There's more garlic, more garlic, more garlic. That looks all good. I have also put wood chip down along this hedge here. I'm quite pleased with the way that looks. These pots are for potatoes, but there's no potatoes in them yet. We're leaving that until sometime in April, probably the middle of April for those. This is the overwintered chard that's been outside, and as you can see it's not fared particularly well, so hence looking forward to getting some going under cover. A bit of leaf damage on these sprouts, but sprout heads still look fine, so I shall be picking those soon. And the cabbages all seem to be fine as well. I'm pleased to see that the broad beans have done well. I don't think I've lost any of those, although there's a few with some leaf burn, but I guess that's to be expected. But other than that, I think we still stand a pretty good chance of a good crop there. All these bags down here, we've just moved those from my plot to make room for the polytunnel, and they're all bagged up leaves, and it's a really good area to store stuff underneath these hedges. So we've got them well packed up. So I got a bit more kale here, and the sprouts have been fantastic here. We've been munching through them like crazy. We've still got, I don't know, maybe only 2 or 3 weeks worth left, but we've got plenty of colettes. We've got colettes here and lots over there, and the colettes shall keep us going. Well, there's over a month's worth of colettes there, I think. So we're trying to get this year's brassicas moving, so that we've got some continuity of supply, and we'll be switching from colettes and sprouts and this early broccoli over to the to this year's broccoli. To last year's what is it, claret, something like that. But it's a spring broccoli anyway, and it's looking really healthy. That's someone we just saw that had a bit of pigeon damage, but probably by the end of this month I should think we shall have some broccoli from there. And in the meantime, of course, we've got broccoli leaves, and then we've got all this year's planting of brassicas that you just saw in the greenhouse, and by the end of the month they should be growing on quite strongly as well. So I'm hoping we manage continuity of supply. I think we will do, especially with all these cabbages and sprout tops as well to keep going. Next year we should be doing a much better job than this, because as you can see, to my shame, there's a lot of open ground on here that we didn't plant up over winter, so we will definitely be doing that this year. So I think we can call it a day. That's a quick summary of what's going on Jenny's plot. I'll see you soon.